Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an episode of Help for the Guildless. Now, as you can tell, I am not Cole Spire, and I bet you're wondering what happened. Well, it's quite simple. The proper villains gathered together and decided to, fire him. How you get fired from a position that you created on your own podcast that you don't get paid for is beyond me. But I am here to replace that boring, asinine man, and, let's get started. Shall we? As I said, my name is Antwon, and I want to welcome you to this wonderful new episode of Help for the Guildless, and I have something very, very, very interesting to talk about. And that happens to be a joke that came across Cole's Twitter and Facebook. And, it's a misunderstanding of a joke, and I have to explain one thing to explain another to get to the heart of the matter, so I'm going to do that now. Now, everyone knows Gamergate. #Gamergate. Why do they know this? Well, because it's been quite popular in games media and games in general over the last 2 years. It's actually going to be 2 years in August, so it's not quite July yet. So, Gamergate was a play on words of Watergate, which was a scandal way, way back. For those of you who reference pop culture, it was, around Nixon, President Nixon. And why Watergate is comparable to Gamergate is because Adam Baldwin saw the corruption and bad journalism of Watergate and the secrets that were behind it, and compared it to the bad journalism of games media now, and coined the phrase Gamergate. If you cannot see the correlation between Watergate and Gamergate, you do not belong on YouTube. Go back to bed, or go back to doing your homework, and let your mother tuck you in, because you need to learn. It would still be considered pop culture now if Gamergate hadn't taken over. I mean, think about this. There have been many gates since Gamergate. One of mention, of course, is Shirtgate. Gate is thrown at the end of everything, and it's quite annoying, actually. Anyway, so now that you understand what this is going to be about, you get to understand why this joke, and the person who is so offended by such joke, is really ridiculous, and why I'm talking about it now. So, Nintendo, known as almost the godfather, the grandfather of video games, the company, not the name, but the actual company, is coming out with a new game, Paper Mario. I've never personally played Paper Mario, but apparently it's popular. In Paper Mario, there was a demo of a game, a cutscene type deal, where there was words on the screen, and it said, "Oh my god, I've been caught cheating, Shufflegate, it's going to ruin my career." Now, there are 3 jokes in this. One of them is legitimate. One of them is a pun, and the other one is a joke because of the person who got offended by it. So, okay, let's go over the first part. Shufflegate. That is playing on words of Watergate. That's what the joke is about. There were 5 people on screen. I'll get to that in a second. And there were 5 burglars in Watergate. I mean, it's very, very simple. Anybody who isn't a self-centered, self-righteous ass would understand what the joke is about. But I digress. The second part of the joke, which is the pun. Thank you for Nintendo for making me do this. Puns are the bane of my existence. The people doing this shuffle game, whatever it is, are Goombas. And if you don't know what a Goomba is, I don't know where you've been for the last 40 years. It's the very first enemy you encounter in Super Mario Bros. They're everywhere. And what they are giant walking mushrooms. They have eyes, they have a mouth, they have feet. Apparently they have personalities now. That's quite strange, but like I said, I've never played the games, so I don't know. Anyway, let me tell you. The joke is on a play on words. So, singularly, a fungus, which is a mushroom, which is what a Goomba is called a fungus, singular. Plural is fungi, Fungi. The name of the group of the 5 Goomba that were in this Shufflegate joke are called the 5 Fun Guys. Get it? 5 fungi. Thank you, Nintendo. You are a master at wordplay. I think 5-year-olds are groaning. Anyway, that's the joke. That's one joke. That's 2 jokes. 1, you actually have to be quite intelligent to understand. 2, puns are simple and easy to understand. Now the 3rd one, I have to bring up the person who got offended. And I literally cannot remember who she is. But I know she's important. Well, to herself, anyway. Zoe Quinn. Yes, Zoe Quinn. Literally who, get it? I emphasize the words. I know it's what I have to work with here. Deal with it. Anyway, Zoe Quinn got offended. And her quotes were exactly this. What the fuck did I ever do to you, Nintendo, that y'all had to make my suffering into a fucking joke? What a good joke. Wouldn't it be fucked up if that actually happened to a real person? Please, never ask me what it's like to be a woman in games. Just refer to that screenshot and the surrounding context. She also went on to say that it ruined her career and Gamergate ruined everything. I have to say this. I wish Zoe Quinn could take a joke as hard as she took those 5 dicks. Yes, I know. Cole said that already, but that's okay. It's a funny joke, and that's actually a good one. This has nothing to do with her, and she doesn't get it. Now, here's where the joke comes in. The Goomba was caught cheating. Well, so was Zoe. She was caught cheating not with 1 guy, not with 2 guys, not with 3, not with 4, but 5 fun guys that pretty much skyrocketed her into what we know she is today. So, this ruined her career, Gamergate. I can't say that's true, and I'll get back to her blaming Nintendo for this. Now, let's examine her career, shall we? The first part we need to talk about is the term literally who. There were 3. I know there were more, but there are 3 main ones. And at one point, this robust ham beast decided to take it for herself, calling herself literally Doctor Who. She didn't understand what the moniker meant, and the moniker meant, quite simply, we don't know who the fuck you are. We didn't know who the fuck you were, and we still really don't give a shit. The only reason we know who you are is because you interject yourself in everything you possibly can to be claimed as Gamergate's very first victim. You were not Gamergate's first victim. Gamergate did not start with you. You were just the antithesis. Look that word up. It's very important. Gamergate actually started a little bit before that with Mass Effect and Dorito-gate. See, I can do it too. Now, games journalism back then, not that long ago either. Think about that. Back then, they were bribed by, well, Doritos and Mountain Dew to promote this game. And the game was good. It was Mass Effect 3. It was the ending that was shit. and the journalist basically called gamers whiny babies. That's where it started. Zoe, you were the antithesis of that. Again, look that word up. But we would not know who this bitch was if she didn't interject herself into all of this. She's a game developer, and I use that term as loosely as I possibly can, because Depression Quest was not a game. It was a choose-your-own-adventure theme thing that 5-year-olds were doing in Flash last year. It was horrible. I've played it. I've seen people play it too. It's really bad. The twist was there were some times you couldn't pick options because you were too depressed. Why did she sleep with 5 guys? Was it for good reviews? Oh Lord, no, because that would actually be something. The journalist that she slept with didn't actually want to review the game, because then they'd have to call it a game. No. Regardless of what the aggros tell you, it was she slept with them for good coverage. Journalists who were respected at the time saying, this is a good game, you should play it. That's what it was for. It wasn't a review, it was good mentions. If you suffer from depression, by all means, play Depression Quest. It'll make you feel better because the developer understands you. Now let's talk about Gamergate. You, madam, and I use that term loosely as well, would not be known and would not be getting $2,200 a month from Patreon if it wasn't for Gamergate. We are your paparazzi. Well, according to you. We are the reason you are who you are. We created you. According to you. Again, it wasn't about you. You just inserted yourself into it. Now, that was the starting point of your career. How do we know? Well, you have yet to develop anything else that is considered a game. I can't trash Brianna Wu because of that, because she actually created a bloody thing. She's created it twice, once for PC, and now she's trying to push the bullshit thing on consoles. But she still did it. She accomplished something. You accomplished nothing. You didn't even masturbate, because at least when you're done masturbating, you achieved something. Now, after that, you set up a gag order on your ex-boyfriend by basically cyberstalking him. Everybody knows about that too. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but it is worth a mention. The next part of your career was you got introduced to a governor. Not only did you get introduced to a governor, but she let you go in front of government to talk about your cyber violence. And that was pretty impressive. It was all money that was donated by your boyfriend at the time, who also moved you into his parents' guest house and paid for everything, who is no longer your boyfriend. I digress. Let me tell you. The problem is, that wasn't enough for you. And on top of that, the governor that you thought you had in your pocket didn't know what she was diving into and got laughed off the Senate floor, whatever kind of governors do. Then, you joined forces with Queen Sexist Feminist number 1 and went to the UN and showed your complete and oblivious privilege. That's all I can say. You did not check it, you did not agree with it, and you didn't even think you had it. But you were at the UN promoting a violence against women and girls in video games paper that, by the way, as an aside, you jumped away from as fast as possible when you found out it was other shit. You went with your free money and complained to the UN that people on the internet were saying you sucked, or I hate you, or do something with your life. You showed everyone in the UN how privileged first world women really are. I don't know if that's what you wanted to do, but that's what you did, and you were laughed at. And my God, woman, did it stop there? No. Now, since you had faded from reputation and your Patreon went from almost $4,000 a month to just around $2,200, you need something that's going to propel those victim bucks back up into living status for you. What can I say? Nintendo makes a joke about Watergate, and you say that. Think for a second before you speak, woman. Do you understand that if anybody else got up on a pedestal like you and proclaimed as loud as they possibly could to thousands of people, this ginormous entity, this multi-billion-dollar international games corporation has singled me out to make fun of me in a game that I won't even play, let alone my fans who don't buy games anyway? That's insane. You are insane. So, where does this come from? Well, there is only one person that I have ever heard of that is as self-entitled, self-important, selfish, and pretty much crazy, that's the word I'm looking for. They named a mental disease after it. Narcissism. Narcissist. The man who fell in love with his own reflection and turned into a flower. That's you. If it's not about you, it should be about you. If it's not really about you, you're going to make it about you. You are selfish, self-entitled, and sociopathic. The only problem is you have a platform. But, as you can see, because I can say this, so do I. Nintendo gives less than a flying thought who you are. They made a joke, and let me tell you, the 5 fun guys were here long before Gamergate. They were in the first Paper Mario. How do I know? I do research. And you think it's about you. You're crazy. Delusional is the word, another word you need to look up. Antithesis and delusional. Both of them. You need to understand what they are before you speak again. Now, I ask this. Why would Nintendo go after the outliers? Let me tell you. Gamergate. We are the outliers. We are the punks. We are the freaks. We are the geeks. We are the gamers. We are the ones on the outside. Because games media says so. Women are the new things in games. Men, the all-boys club that it actually never was because we don't care, we're the outliers. Why would not go after us? I should say, why would they back us up and go after you? When many games, independent and some not so independent games, made fun of us. Why would Nintendo go after you to back us up? And I know what you're going to say after that, because Gamergate got Alison Rapp fired from Nintendo. Nintendo backed Gamergate by getting rid of her. No, let me tell you. Nintendo got rid of Alison Rapp because she's a prostitute. She's a whore. I'm sorry, no. The term she wants to be called is an escort. She took lewd and nude photos with a family-friendly company's merchandise to promote herself while working for that company. Alison Rapp was fired because she's an idiot. Zoe, you are delusional. You're hilarious, but you're delusional. And the delusions can only go so far before you no longer become funny and you just become sad. You then said you were going to take a break from Twitter because it's too much from you, but you're really not, because you're leaving up your private account of @PrimeApe. Whether you're not prime and neither an ape, because that would be insulting to apes. They're at least close to what humans actually are. So you've taken a break from Unburnt Witch. And I say it's been about a week since this has happened. I'm going to say that in about a couple of days you're going to come back on that account and you're going to say that you've been talking to Nintendo and they're going to take the joke out, which they're not going to, and you've been proven a liar once again. Your Twitter account name is Unburnt Witch, and at this point it is the current year. I believe that we should hearken back to the Salem witch trials and rectify that we left one witch unburnt. You, madam, are a plague, a blight on society, not just games and general geekdom. You are a blight on society. You offer nothing in return and you ask for everything. You have no moral value whatsoever. Let me tell you, the problem with you is you still think you're relevant. I can tell you from personal experience, yes, anecdotal, I understand, personal experience, that from the gamers I know, your name has not crossed our minds, our lips, or across our tongues since your debacle at the UN. And I do not understand why you can't just move on. You're done. Your 14 minutes and 55 seconds of fame. Take the last 5 and go hide under a bridge like the blue-haired troll you really are. I'm not mad. For any of you listening, I know it sounds like I'm up angry. I'm not. I'm dumbfounded. I'm completely flabbergasted at how this petulant child actually has respect from people. I don't get it. Listen, the only thing we can do to make sure she goes away, that she burns at the stake like she should, is continue to have her not enter our minds, lest we forget she's going to make more money for doing absolutely nothing. And that's all I have to say. I know it was a lot, but I backed Nintendo on this. They used an intelligent joke and a pun. The third joke being Zoe Quinn got caught cheating, so she was projecting herself onto the joke. Nintendo, you have my honest prayers that you're going to get past all of this and get back to doing what you're supposed to do, and making Zelda games, and more Metroid, and anything else. Paper Mario be it. That's fine too. For the rest of you, I have to say, it has been enjoyable talking to you. Thank you for listening. If you want to, you can hit that like button. Help me get more of you to listen. I am, well, more entertaining than the last bloke. Hit subscribe. Share me around. I dare you. I dare you to share me with anybody. If I can't convince them, I will eat a hat. You can follow Cole on Facebook and Twitter and on Twitch, but he will no longer be doing Help for the Guildless. I have taken over. You can still watch him do his Let's Plays with his friends, or whatever they are. And he's still going to be doing the Proper Villains podcasts, which should be having another one soon. So, thank you for listening. And I know he always says, have a good evening. I have quite a better send-off than that. Ladies and gentlemen, I bid you good morrow, and I hope everything turns out just as well as you want it to.